Hey, when this project first got announced, my initial thought was this is the most accurate album title like ever. But on second thought, when you take into account albums like Veteran or Black Ben Carson from JPEG or Atrocity Exhibition from Danny Brown, it probably should be like Scaring the Hoes Volume 50. As far as experimental rap, aka weird rap, it's just like Goku and Vegeta doing the fusion dance. Both of them are super abrasive sonically, but also two of the most talented rappers right now. Danny Brown's been a little quieter lately, but he has one of the better flows and deliveries in the game. JPEGMAFIA is quietly one of the better punchers right now. He has that humor and wit that's kind of Kanye West-esque. It should be a dope project, but just to be safe, turn the volume down a little bit. You don't want your girl getting PTSD. Let's get to it.
First off, fuck Elon Musk, $8 too much, bitch, that's expensive. Put a hose in the back and the cracks in the slack, if I tweet and delete then I meant it.
Nah, Chipmunk vocals ain't nothing remotely new in rap, but it's speeded up to this extent to where it's essentially background noise. That is some wild sampling. If y'all niggas, I feel like Papa John. Y'all remember when he said the N-word in that meeting? That's hilarious. These stabs are hard. Oh my goodness, he been at Drake neck since he came out. He got that song called Drake Era, but niggas be texting girls ain't nothing stranger than that. Drake texting that underage stranger kids girl.
Why you stretching the truth in your tweets? I've been stretching your girl.
Put in that camel clutch. What am I listening to? I'm pretty sure niggas are saying spitting fast like name a fast spitting rapper, but what he was referring to, talking about your girl spitting on him, that's hilarious. That's what I'm talking about. Weird right out the gate. I thought JPEG's last album was kind of tame compared to Veteran and All My Heroes Are Cornball. Still thought it was an excellent album. But like you can slip a couple of songs from LPN with the hosing around, but you can't do that with this song. Beat sounded like it was on drugs. I looked it up. That was a Genuine sample. Couldn't even make it out because how high pitched it was. But the way they flipped that sample was just not the direction anybody could expect it to go. And then when they added the stabs, you had that random beat change in the middle. I like what both rappers brought here, but JPEGMAFIA was clearly the star of this song here. The humor, the aggression, the just going at everybody attitude, going from Elon Musk to Kanye to Drake diss, pretty back-to-back punching. Danny Brown had a pretty cool verse. He punched a little bit too with the dropping low, picking up change. That was cool. The spitting fast like Busta ain't the most creative bar, but it is funny. Like the chemistry. This is Steppa Pig. Bro, this nigga got the best song titles.
Cut with that top side, my brain fried. Don't do drugs, had 2 plugs, 1 just died. I'm up late, no talk show, things pop up.
That's an edgy line, dog. Oh my goodness, I've heard plug 2, Trugoy plug 2 flips before, but he said I had 2 plugs. 1 just died, cause Trugoy just died. Oh my goodness.
Ain't no way, God can never did shit for me. Came up off that style, had that recipe. Like that? My young nigga step for me. Like old mommy and Pam. Stop. You don't know shit about me.
My bummer got it too with somebody recently, right?
Brown, got a 1 extra, like the BBC. What? 1 girl's all on me. But love, my nigga.
I like the feeling the plane punches.
Baby, I cannot do nothing with hope. I'ma try Molly and Zans. They try to get me the ghost. Boy, you ain't Kai when twitching you banned.
That's fire. Twitch you move and then you ban. He pulling it out. He be having the gun bars.
I can run like my emotions. I keep them both in my sleeve. I need more time to myself. I don't need advice. I just need
like that.
These niggas act like I owe them. These niggas be dick riding for grown ass men that don't even know them. They don't even come outside and sales just can't let it go like Frozen.
Hey, over the course of 5 minutes, this nigga has covered so much ground. This nigga got a Frozen punch in here.
These cracks love talk about me and thinking like it's my job to ignore them.
Bro, what is JPEGMAFIA on? That beat was absurd. The way that he's manipulating these samples is ridiculous. He was working with a bunch of different samples here, but I think the really creative thing that he did was he was using a vocal sample as like the bass in his song. That really stabby vocal sample like took the place of a kick. Then on top of that, you had a couple different modulations. I like the guitar part of the sample. I like both verses here. I think Danny Brown stepped it up from his last verse. Smooth flow. I like the punching that he did here. I like JPEG's verse too, and I actually like his verse a little bit more. So far, it also feels like a JPEGMAFIA album featuring Danny Brown. Some of that's because he had 2 verses on this song versus Danny Brown's 1. And then also the mix on Danny Brown's voice is really muddy compared to a really clean mix on JPEGMAFIA's voice. JPEGMAFIA does all of his mixing and engineering, so I guess it kind of makes sense he'd be more familiar with mixing his own voice, but I don't know, it ain't too unlistenable, but it make it a little bit tedious. It's the title track, Scaring the Hoes.
Stop scaring the hoes. Play that shit out and touch their toes. We don't wanna hear that shit.
Play that Ice Spice.
Play something for the bitches. How the fuck you supposed to make money off this shit? You wanna be an MC? What the fuck you think it's that 93?
What is going on? They had to screech it with the violin in the sample. This is wild. Yo, I love what I'm hearing sonically, but this is about to be annoying if Danny Brown's voice is getting lost in the mix on every single song. I hope this is not the case. But like right now, his rapping sounds like background vocals.
Stop scaring the house. Play a little shit, I'm taking the toes. We don't wanna hear that weird shit no more. What the fuck is that? Give me that ice core.
Boy, my wife finna hate this album. We're gonna have to have a long discussion when I get the aux cord. Yeah, this is like anti-Ice Spice music right here. It had a pretty sick violin sample in there. It sounded like they were sampling someone playing like on the street, but for him to flip the violin messing up like that and use it as part of the sample, outrageous. The issue with this song, what's stopping it from being the best song out of these first 3, is that mix. You can't hear Danny Brown like at all. It's a chore to hear him, but catchy chorus, and weird enough, you can hear him better on the chorus than you can hear him on his verse. But free Danny Brown voice from this mix. This is Garbage Pail Kids.
Niggas don't rap no more, they just sell clothes. So I should probably quit and start a line of bathroom somehow like this.
What is this sample? It sounds like he's sampling anime, which he's done before. Ugh, the bass is fire too.
Niggas don't rap no more, they just sell clothes. So I should probably quit and start.
Yo, chill. Don't go at Westside Gun like that.
Down code, they generate working up with no membership. A minute late, you wonder where the pictures.
I can finally hear Danny Brown.
My manuscript, I can handle it. Eat your ass like I'm cannabis. I show up on your screen.
Bro, that's my favorite bar I heard in a minute. He making fun of that diss that Cannabis said to LL Cool J on his song Second Round Knockout. It was a very plausible bar, and that's not what Cannabis meant, but now you're talking about eating the girl. Dog, that's hilarious, dog. Line of the album so far. What is going on? Just pure aggression. God dang! Don't pull him out the casket. Dog. Like, this is an absurd level of aggression.
You can't be broke and over 30. Get your ass beat. You see that.
In this economy, I ain't judging nobody who broke over 30. Oh my goodness, that might be my favorite song of the year. That like little anime sample, the bass, the modulation to the guitar in between the verses and after JPEG's verse, disgusting. Danny Brown, I think he might have had a better verse on that song. Look, he could have said BS and the Cannabis line would have been enough to carry the whole verse. Matter of fact, I don't even remember what else he said on that verse, but I know he had several lines that I liked. JPEGMAFIA, like, they need to get that nigga a therapist. This nigga is upset. They can do a wellness check on this nigga right now and take all his guns. Just brutal bars. I like both of their flows. They absolutely floated on this song. I was sick. This is Fentanyl Tester. These niggas is in rare form, dog.
Is it the cars, the clothes, the money, the jewelry, the crib, the drug, or the hoes? Is it the cat, the meth, the weed, the lean, the molly, the boy, the blow?
A little arcade sample. Man, he's like creating his own different style of drums. It has that punchy 909 sound to it, but I think every single kick on this album has been a sample distorted to sound like a drum. That's really creative. It reminds me of how Kanye used synths to sound like vocals on Graduation. I mean, not because it sounds the same, but that level of creativity. You get rock for Sean. He's punching back to back.
Get to cooking while whipping these sounds. You get hit, you gon' sing like Bilal.
Wait, we smack them. I'm immaculate.
I love how they glitching on the beat.
Just fall back, I'ma put you on. Lost out here, can't find no home. Going out, so tap in. I'm about to take you for what's been so buckle up.
Hey, you know these niggas ain't right in the head, cause listen to this beat and the fact that both of them can find a pocket on it.
I'm a big dog like Marmaduke. Park yourself when I come through.
Milkshake brings all the boys to the yard and they're like, it's better than yours, right? It's better than yours, I can teach you.
All right, they heard me. I can actually enjoy Danny Brown's verses when I actually can hear them. Hopefully this means they cleaned up the mixing for the rest of the album, but I like both verses. I think they were about neck and neck on this one. I love the rapid fire style. Danny Brown's flow has been on one. Maybe it's because it's been the only thing I can hone in on a couple of these songs, but that rapid fire, almost double time pace sounded good, and he's punching with the flow too. More absurd sampling. The nigga sampled Milkshake, and it sounded good, and then on top of it was these like arcadey 90s retro sounds. I touched on the bass of this album, which I like. This is Burfict.
Like NASCAR, nigga, you bet not go. But you better get your mind right, boy. That shit all over that windshield, nigga.
Bro, these niggas like NASCAR, nigga, you better not go there. Black people better not go to no NASCAR event. These niggas is on one.
Go stand up. Walk out, fuck plan B. I'm like this.
I didn't know what Burfict was until they started using this. NFL, what network is this that they're sampling? But he's sampling one of the theme songs for one of the NFL broadcast networks. I love when rappers reference their own songs. That hey, this whole chorus right here is a reference to his track with Schoolboy Q on, not Schoolboy Q, Absol. Terroristic Threats is the name of the song. It's not the same lyrics, but it's the same flow, and he used Mayday in both of those. Hey, that ain't age well. Crypto is in hell right now.
Give me that nasty, give me that fruit.
Nah. The hoes is terrified, dog. The niggas is getting a little fearful.
Stick for the Mulianis. Now we playing zombies. Choppers like Beto, that shit come in cases that cover they face that bitch back harmony. Give me that Rogan, give me that.
What? I did not expect to hear a Mock Homie bar on this. He said something like when he shoot at them, they cover their face like Mock Homie. Mock's one of my favorite. I was not expecting to hear that. They are not in similar lanes at all.
30-30, and I think now the truth. Frank Lucas got my bitch feeling blue. Straight crack in the booth. Feel like Steve will stop me, not you couldn't shop at the store and have EBT2 now expected by God. Turn that money through.
Man, the sampling from JPEGMAFIA is not regular. The most out of the box use of samples. Was not expecting to hear a Monday Night Football type beat on this album, then the thumping bass on top of it. Love what I'm hearing from Danny Brown and JPEG on these last couple of songs. You getting smooth flows, and then there's this standout humorous punch on every song too. JPEGMAFIA's been rapid fire with the punches, but Danny Brown's has had some haymakers. Maybe not in a traditional sense, but just like hilarious punches that niggas better not go there like NASCAR line. That was the one. I'm rocking with that. That's not my favorite beat on the album. I think it's still fire, but it's a little bit straightforward compared to the super dynamic beats that were on the first 5 tracks. This is, I'm not even gonna say the name of this song.
Shut the fuck up talking to me.
For real.
I rap circles round niggas, I do figure eights. Ring free and niggas, that shit your real estate. Mistakes make me raise a blaze, hit the dinner plate. Same story.
This beat is crazy. This is JPEGMAFIA's best production. I thought he was insane with, I thought all his albums have insane production, but in my opinion, I felt like he was never going to ascend to a level of like weirdness and technical ability of Veteran. When I heard Veteran, I'd never heard anything like that. But when I heard that album, I hadn't heard JPEGMAFIA before. I feel like I know what to expect with JPEG, and none of this is what I expected.
The vampires always biting us up. You said it's not ain't no
I like these
discussion.
sounds.
You try to touch him on my mama, I was wrong. Like a promise from a fat bitch saying no more McDonald's. I come for slanging broke. I ain't like a king out of here. Man, it's over for that lame shit that
I like
you
that
did
King
this
of Hell
year.
line.
Like you're speaking in tongues. Show up uninvited, they didn't
Yo, you gotta relax. This modulation is insane. These keys. Ugh. It was already crazy when he went from the old sample to the Sims for Danny Brown's verse. But then to keep the old sample and then layer on it with different, I think these are Simpson keys. Drugs addicts attached to me like I'm Tom Collins. Yo, don't do Zendaya like that.
You smack your bitch up like Prodigy when you deal with Darling. I smack my bitch ass the Prodigy when we dog.
Yo, this nigga's had a Prodigy reference. This nigga's had a Mock Homie reference. If JPEGMAFIA want to do a 90s East Coast influence boom bap coat rap record, just say that.
She said, baby, just let me ride like TRE. I fuck you 30 pluses and post it on KTT. I made real
Dre
fucking
reference.
G's like Easy E. I wish these nerds would come outside so they can
I'm making real G's like Easy E. I like that line. Real G's is quietly one of the better disses in rap.
forgive me, Father, for slaying Sookie through muddy waters. Forgive they daughters, they barking at me, I'm raw dog.
Whew, the run of songs from when I first started being able to hear Danny Brown has been crazy. They must have heard me when I said that last beat wasn't as dynamic as the rest of the album has been, because you got several modulations, a beat change as you get into JPEGMAFIA's verse. We had a little switch up from Danny Brown because he got more personal. It sounds more like hybrid Danny Brown when he was rapping more so about like trapping as opposed to doing drugs. Now that I think about it, Danny Brown went from serving things to being one. Well, yeah, personal verse from Danny Brown. I personally preferred his part of the song more than JPEGMAFIA's part of the song. Both of them was good, but that old sample modulating to the keys, I thought that was sick. And then JPEGMAFIA brought that old sample back for the first part of his side, and then it morphed into this like watery beat. We getting a sensory overload on the production side of things, and the rapping has been dope, especially recently. This is Orange Juice Jones.
She just took my soul out of my body. I'm like that she blind, told everybody.
This is really good sequencing too, because you can get, I'm lying, I would not get overwhelmed if all these beats were just purely preposterous, but it is smart sequencing for them to have a smoother beat placed in between the more chaotic ones. This is more traditional use of a sample, but it's still good use of one.
It's the miss your people style, I'm chill, we up that boat, up the Britney Spears, got me dancing like I lost control. Out of that probably a double, I might be a trouble, I'm looking like Space Jam. All of these colors, I wanna see double, I need some rain, baby.
dangerous. Swang with us, sang with us, them niggas can't hang with us. My bitch getting this shit, twerking up age with us.
What is this flow? Is this a Biggie reference here? I think he's playing off that Notorious Thugs flow.
That enabled us to put your girl in the game across. So don't play with us, don't aim with us. You ain't the same as us. I'm up with BCD. They putting out APGs. Your girl in the backseat getting hard rock like CBGs. I'm on the ground like a young bumpy.
She get hard rock like CBG.
The lies and I hope y'all believe it. Confront me and I get to suck this shit. Right after taking this shit. Wait.
That was like Sneaky Link with a Crazy Girl type music. I like the vibe and the mood of that song, that sample. Great. I will say Danny Brown's verse, look, all 100% charisma. He didn't have like the captivating bars like he's had in these last few songs. He did paint the scene. It was like, can't really say love music. This is like love making music for a deaf girl. Cause ain't nobody trying to hear that. And then JPEG played in that same content. I like that hard rock bar from him. That was another tough song. This track list has been pretty flawless so far. This is Kingdom Heart Keys. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and assume this is a Kingdom Heart sample.
All that money get flushed to the blank. Shut a dribble, go give me a ring. You got money, you turn up big. I was straight on Persia when I'm on the scene. All these felonies they never seen. Got my cup like I'm Argentine. Like
Petty's had some well-placed chops throughout this album. There's so much going on, it's hard to point out every single element, but I like that when he did it right there.
all this crack is soft as a bang. Put to bottom and say I'ma sing. Ketamine got be singing like 10 inches like a pill. I feel like I'm just one time, bitch.
Hey, these niggas ain't been rapping about weed and lean like normal niggas. They been rapping about fentanyl and ketamine. The boom bap?
One.
I should have known better.
Left and right is the same. You bitches should form like Danny Brown. People scared to put in work.
He's referencing lines that he said early in the album. This is more of that referencing your own bars thing that I was talking about.
I'm playing up on the rim. I brought a gun to the game. I'm living
You
life with
feel
no
me?
rules. You try to play foul, I'm shooting the trash.
Hey, niggas thought that was crazy when nigga pulled out the gun on above the rim. You know, the LA Fitness is I frequent. That's not out the ordinary.
Make what you do look easy. Can't see me, they all get queasy.
Oh, his flow's been on one. Cap on me, lowercase. I'm surprised nobody has flipped that before. Like cap, bullet, and then the casing on the bullet.
I'm like Velcro, all I need is a cell phone. I'ma get what I want. When I'm Melrose for a Lord, it's spare home. And again in the month, try to get the bread home. And
I like I'm playing with this bread home Melrose sound right there.
fucking my ear, you don't know. You want to flinch, that with you. Bitch, my lifeline ain't gon' wait for no right time just to get up and sprint. He in his right mind, he gon' sit.
When I saw Red Velvet was the only feature here, I was a little skeptical of it, but he did fit the aesthetic of the song really well. He don't have the punching, he don't quite have the charisma that Danny Brown and JPEG have, in my opinion, but his flow and delivery was on point. The way he was playing with that Melrose internal rhyme from pretty much start to finish his verse, and then the delivery of the last couple of lines, I was pretty good. I think Danny Brown had the best flow. When he comes in, man, he's been coming in with a vengeance. The humor and punching still on point from both JPEGMAFIA and Danny Brown. Really smooth sample. I like the modulation in the middle. I would assume both of those samples that were used were Kingdom Hearts samples. I think Peggy is solidifying itself as the best active producer when it comes to sampling. I say there's certainly no one who has the same range as he does. This is God Love You. Very true statement. Nah, gospel samples are undefeated.
That pussy on my face, I'm a talking tongue. Legs in the air, scream hallelujah. Make those work that hoe.
I can't condone this sacrilegion, but I also can't deny that that was a bar.
On her knees saying, oh my God. Pull the camera out, let's make a movie. If you're on your period, call me Moses. Cause I'm about to split back Red Sea. Heard with my dick like David and Goliath. Take a tongue, bro, pick it at me like a slingshot. Might get a cock on a mountain top.
Hey, yo.
When I ate that pussy, I broke my fast.
Now how many times I gotta tell you when I get to the money, but shake that.
Danny Brown punched out of his mind on that song. Every single line was a ridiculous punch. Good luck explaining that to God. The slingshot line, the Moses line. Goodness, everybody need to go to Sunday school after they hear this. Sample was crazy. The gospel samples are undefeated, and JPEGMAFIA used it a lot. He said in an interview with Zach Fox, out of all people, that he grew up in church. So he just has these gospel songs in his head to use as samples. Has a Duty Pay was a really great one, and God Don't Like Ugly off his last album. Another really good beat. I hate to say it, but that was the best verse from Danny Brown. This is Run the Jewels.
Torn a ride, angry and short, willing to die. Most my haters escape, won't come outside, it's making me cry. Rappers step up and get shit on like they ain't Dubai, telling no lies. The pride can fit in this ride.
Hey, I'm very glad that social media has been bullying these bottle service girls who be in Dubai every other week. That was reference to how they be saying all the weird stuff that they be flying girls out to Dubai to do.
Those shots, sorry ass niggas won't be like Mike Alpine. High, beaches, walk it off, just in the jazz, up my dog.
What am I listening to? Bro, what? He sampled like a New Orleans street performer and then had the out of nowhere beat change. This dude has like a whole repertoire of beat changes and modulations with how he gets into different beats. I feel like beat changes has been one of the like biggest trends in rap, but a lot of them don't make sense. But I like how JPEG is being really thoughtful about how he's doing it here. I thought he had the better, I wouldn't even say better verse, but the better part of the song. Oh, they could have had that go on for another minute or two. This is the Jack Harlow combo meal. These names of songs is undefeated. Yeah, hearing this piano sample, I'm already thinking, how's JPEGMAFIA gonna turn this into complete and utter chaos?
I done bought stuff on a bitch. My phone that hoe like Sarah right now, right? Everything about was wrong. Got big pockets like a fat.
Nah, that's a smooth flip.
Hold up, watch out, nigga, I'm about to go nuts. Hold you, say what? Nigga better keep it on the high.
I like the beat wobbling back and forth to the more warped pianos to the main sample.
Take your spot and take your business. Man, I can't fuck with y'all niggas. Y'all let Jake Harlow sell y'all chick.
Yeah, I rock with the Jack Harlow slander.
You get used to these crackers accusing you when you black is a regular thing.
How sad.
Girl, it's been minutes.
What is going on?
And it's been days, bitch.
Everything about JPEGs I like.
Back in this bitch and you bump me, check out my shoulder leaning like I'm Joe.
Come on, man.
Power and big respect, you can't change the fact that you a hoe. Body like pussy, you thinking you pussy when you can end up going out like the crow. Niggas want action, I'm not into acting, but you on the screen like I'm Christopher No.
Man, another crazy sample flip, and the insane part is how much versatility he's using with these samples. Despite that beat being very textured, it was less busy than a lot of these instrumentals have been. But even then, you got the clash of these really smooth keys, those fast-paced, almost frantic drums, and then that wobbly, distorted sound. You got a modulation out of nowhere, singing out of nowhere. I think lyrically, both guys were solid, but I especially like how JPEGMAFIA ended his verse, where he was basically yelling. Might have been the best song title on the album too, and that's saying a lot. This is Ho.
Niggas is trash, they be ass, it's Kimber a freak, you a flash. Why did these nobody start with me? They don't got moves, don't got beats, don't got heart like me. It's for real, busting drums while I'm packing it still. Fishy niggas fuck with it, get real, she shaking it up. She touching my leg, I know she wanna fuck. Keep one eye open like sleep with the ruler. Got one in the head, hit straight from a doulas. Triggering, nobody's living rent free. Spot niggas living vicariously through niggas that don't lie, they exist.
Now we pray up to a vibe, hoping in court that the church show him live. Only your church with somebody past. No hope of the future, we stuck in the past. Now we ended up
Bro,
in the bag,
the rhythm of the song
killing,
is
how long will that
ridiculous.
last? Pop on my collar, just like the vines. Heaven on earth, but I'm hellbound.
Yeah, and the song God Loves You has a lot to do with it. I mean, they could have rapped on this beat. Yikes. The rapping was solid. I don't think it had the standout punches that a lot of these songs had, but it's still solid. You still getting humor and charisma from Danny Brown. You still getting aggression from JPEGMAFIA. But dog, I'm like in awe from this production. I already said he undefeated with the gospel sample. Wait till he flip this one. Out of the box, dog. To have that beat be so off kilter and really off beat, and for it still to work, and for both of them to find a pocket despite that, that's crazy. And even the way that he revealed the samples, he did this on whatever song had that milkshake sample on it, where they'll reveal the sample by letting it play a little bit more. But JPEGMAFIA is revealing the sample and making a whole nother beat out of it. He did that here with the extended outro. Dude got talent, man. Let's close this thing out with where you get your coke from.
Money made in a Harley, and we don't click with all these pasting and you copy. That bitch let anybody in, she like the army. Off top, on your bitch like Darby. I fuck your bitch, you fuck my bitch, that's an assist. 4, 5, and 6, I take my shots and I'm a kiss. And it's great for a buddy on the list.
Oh well, what you making the gears make those cookie shorties at hotels. Don't even know the last time I used up my own toenails.
Here they go with his mixing. What is this nigga saying?
Like I'm chiseling on K-walls 1,000 years later. They can break that voicemail with death call, won't answer to
Here we
no
go.
one. Came up in this bitch by myself with no gun. Everybody asking me where you get your coke from. Used to work the block and ain't never filed a grievance. Talk to me soft like you can keep a secret.
Yeah, somebody got to check on these niggas' mentals. They ain't got it all together up here. Something's wrong. To have that, what, tribal-ish, Latin-ish beat, and then to have that interrupted with those horns? Bro, what? Just like the last song, I will say that wasn't the strongest rapping from them for this entire album, but just for them both to be able to even find a pocket on a beat like that. And overall, these niggas did it with this album. I was already coming to this expecting a lot, and they've exceeded even that. JPEGMAFIA has been one of one since he's entered the game in 2016, and the fact that he continues to hone in his craft, this feels like the culmination of it. I think this is his best produced album, which is saying a lot. He's been one of the best sample flippers, and he was just showing showing out on this one. Crazy variety of samples, crazy variety in how he flipped the samples. The beats were unpredictable on here, abrasive. And then for as good as the pairing between JPEGMAFIA and Danny Brown looks on paper, it sounds even better. The two have different strengths, but I feel like each one stepped up their level of rapping to complement the other. Like Danny Brown is great when it comes to the flows, and I feel like JPEGMAFIA, his flows were better here than they've been on his past albums. And then JPEGMAFIA is a great puncher, and Danny Brown, who's a good puncher in his own right, stepped his punching up and stepped his humor up to match JPEGMAFIA's. I think it was also sequenced really well. I think it had some minor issues. Not every song had the best rapping in the world. These two aren't the most technical rappers anyway. Their skill sets don't typically fall into having really complex rhyme patterns, but they were really crafty with their cadences. And they did have some issues with Danny Brown's mixing, especially on the beginning of the album. At certain points of the album, it was hard to hear him, which is pretty annoying for me. But other than that, man, I think this is definitely JPEGMAFIA's best album. Prior to that, it would have been between LP and Veteran. I think Atrocity Exhibition was one of the best albums of the last decade, so it would have been a little bit harder to top that. But it's pushing up into that territory. I think it's also an early entry to the album of the year conversation. There has been an album prior to this that is up here with this one, but it's going to be a tough conversation come the end of the year. This is an excellent album.